Every single morning, this guy would wake up, he would stare at his coffee, and then he would lose the same argument with himself. And you know exactly which one. I'll start tomorrow. I'm too tired. I'll do it later. And after a while, the worst part for him wasn't that he was failing. It was knowing that he was becoming somebody who didn't trust his own word. See, most people think that successful people are just motivated. And the reality is they're not. They just stopped negotiating with themselves. So this guy made one tiny change. After his first sip of coffee, he had to read 10 pages. There was no decision, there was no debate. Coffee meant reading, and that was it. And slowly, his brain stopped relying on motivation and started relying on systems that he had put into place. Shoes by the door meant go for a walk. Calendar notification meant time to work out. Bedtime routine means sleep. And because systems carry you on motivation, on days where motivation disappears, and that is ultimately the secret that most successful people use. They imply tactics of when, then links to keep themselves moving forward. Because it isn't about making yourself feel better, it's about knowing your motivation is going to run out and you're not willing to sacrifice your growth when that happens. Because nothing exposes your lack of discipline faster than Brad from accounting, who's crushing 5 a.m. workouts while you're eating toaster strudels and emotional support sweatpants. But before we get into this episode, if you're a fan of honest conversations about success and transformation and the kind that aren't polished, that aren't comfortable, and happen when nobody is watching, well, welcome. You're in the right place. And make sure you like and subscribe. Give those buttons some love. And you know what? Actually, make that a habit. Tune in each week for new episodes. And when you see habitual growth pop up in your feed, then hit that like and subscribe button right away. Okay, let's get into today's episode. All right, Lisa, it's good to see you again. We are continuing our topic about raising personal standards, but now that it's closer to June, we are moving into using systems to do more than you ever thought that you could. And I was actually looking at a Facebook post of a friend of mine who's in the midst of 75 Hard. And that's kind of what spurred on this topic that we're going to talk about today. And his comment basically was like, hey, I'm, 15 days into this, really proud of myself. It's easier than I expected, but I'm also getting more done than I ever thought I would be able to do. And it just kind of hit me when I read that post, what you and I had talked about a long time ago when we first started talking about habitual growth. And I think I shared with you, it was a similar, actually 75 Hard post that somebody I didn't know had put on Facebook. And what they had shared was like, 75 Hard is too easy. I'm going to make up my own plan. And I was like, well, if people are using systems like habitual growth and 75 Hard to frame out their day, what is it that they are finding in that rigidity or schedule or routine that is freeing up more time? Because oftentimes we think like, man, I'm so busy. I have so many meetings. I don't have any breaks. I've got kids. I've got activities, and I just have no time to even get to bed at a reasonable hour. I can't eat healthy. I can't do all these things. And instead, it's actually the people that I find that put routines into their schedules, that build the framework and have systems in place that are the most productive because they find ways to actually free up more time through the day to do more. You are a person that is always on the go. How does that sit with you? What do you find in your own personal life as you've been using habitual growth, but also as you've been juggling all the various activities that you've been doing over the last couple of years?
Yeah, so I think when people say that they're busy, there's a couple of things that are happening. One, they might really be busy in terms of, hey, I have a lot of things going on simultaneously, on my plate that I'm trying to figure out how to juggle. But the feeling of busyness, in my opinion, largely comes from a lack of systems and feeling like you don't have control necessarily of everything and how it's flowing. And I think one of the advantages of using systems that someone else developed, developing your own systems, is that you can create that level of control that allows you, this is how I frame it, Tetris your days in a way to maximize your output because you are very intentional about what needs to be prioritized and what then can become dead space or white space where you can fill in something else. So when I'm traveling, I have my essential actions list. These are the, 5 to 7 things usually that I have to get done that day. And I know that I have to fit the rest of the day in around them. And so how do I do that? Well, sometimes it's getting up earlier. Sometimes it's being creative. I have 20 minutes between a meeting. Can I get this one thing knocked off if I'm just focused very intentionally on it and move on? And so I think the systems that people create, one, give them greater control, help them identify dead space or white space where they can shift in other things to be able to knock them off. But then it forces you to be more focused and intentional around your time because you know you need to get through X number of things in that day to be able to conquer the day, to complete your 75 hard day, whatever it is. So I think the combination of that allows people to be more productive. And the more you feel like you're being more productive, then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, and you will look to the next day to replicate and find new efficiencies.
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously you and I, because we are the owners of habitual growth, use habitual growth. And that's what
Yeah,
we mean by a system. It's also could be a tool or a platform, but something that you are consistently using and doing on a day-to-day basis. You were making fun of me offline, but yes, I did look up a bunch of statistics to bring to the
I
conversation.
knew it.
And the one that really jumped out at me that I loved, and this is from a Harvard Business Review, said that 92% of highly productive people follow planned morning routines. And I find that a little bit humorous, although true, because you see online, especially in social media, people that don't follow routines. It's like, oh, of course, it's another cold plunge. Of I don't have time to do a gratitude journal. I don't have time to do all this stuff. And just in the personal life, it seems to be always the people that don't set the time aside that actually can't structure their day in a manner that allows them to follow a morning routine. And it doesn't even matter if it's a long one. It could be 5, 10, 15 minutes, something that number one gets you really started, and number two does things that mean something for you, and three, you're doing it for a long time. Because those that are doing it, if the stat is 92% of people that follow a morning routine are more productive than people that don't, you want to fall in that category if you're following this channel, if you're even following anybody in the personal growth or development space. What do you do in the mornings, whether you're traveling, whether you're just getting up and doing your day to day? I know you have a set of things that you like to do that really start your
Yeah.
day out on the right foot. What are some of those things that work for you?
I'm not a fan of morning routines. And I think that stat comes from what we were just talking about, right? People have found a system that works for them. Now, there's probably equal as many people that say they have a bedtime routine that they follow that allows them to be more productive or more mindful. So I think what's coming out of the systems is people's ability to identify what's important to them, figure out how to prioritize it in their day, and no matter where they put it, it creates a framework of their day that allows them to be more productive. So my morning routines, when I'm at home, are pretty much the same, but that is completely different than a morning routine than when I'm on the road, depending if I'm catching a flight, if I've got early meetings, if I have late meetings, maybe I'll fit my workout on. It just kind of depends, but there are those kind of big rocks of system structure that I pull through no matter what day it is and where I'm at, because they are part of a larger system that allows me to operate more productively. And that's, like we talk about all the time, working out. You and I are faith based. So, making sure that I take 5 to 10 minutes for gratitude, for prayer. It's prioritizing healthy eating. It's, what are the big things that are moving us forward as HG? Like, where do those fall on the list? So I think as long as people can understand what they are prioritizing and how to prioritize it within their day, it matters less the time of day that they're doing it, more so that they're creating a system that works for them.
Yeah, so that's very true. And I think to your point, you got to figure out what works for you. I'm less of a morning routine person. I tend to get up and I have to like stop myself from doing certain things. As an example, I try not to drink coffee right away. Give myself 30 minutes or so before I'll look at my cell phone. My wife, on the other hand, is, hey, if I can do my red light therapy, if I can read my journal or read my, Bible study or whatever it is, she's kind of got like a 30 to 45-minute built-in morning routine that she sticks to more often than not on the weekends. And that really works from her. When she deviates from that, I can definitely tell like the stress levels that I can see um, do show up throughout the day, throughout the evenings when people are playing catch up. And that's the other thing that this Harvard study revealed is it says like routines do not necessarily need to be identical or extreme, meaning you don't have to wake up at 5 a.m. every single day. Maybe that works Monday through Friday, and then on the weekends you want to sleep in a little bit more. It actually shows that flexibility matters. And when you have stable cues of, I'm going to do something when I have, let's say I'm going to brush my teeth. Well, right after I brush my teeth in the morning, that's when I'm going to, spend 10 minutes in my gratitude or whatever it is. But that tends to outperform rigid routines because then you're really focusing on your true system. You have patterns, you understand kind of what works for you, what doesn't work for you, you have your priorities throughout the day. It's less of I have to get it in for the first 45 minutes of the day. And that I think frees up a lot of people's mental space to be able to say, okay, I do have a system. Even if I can't get everything in the morning or in the evening, it still works for me. And I'm going to get these priorities done throughout the day at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when people become super rigid in their routines, it becomes more about doing a task at a certain time of day than it does about prioritizing that task or that activity in general and allowing it to fit within the normal variability of life.
Mhm.
So I look at my calendar, just going back to using physical fitness as an example, and I will block out my calendar. I'll look at it for a 2 week span ahead of time and go, this day is super stacked in meetings. It's going to be an evening run. Here I have, time during the middle of the day. That's when I get my training in. Or, oh crap, we've got a full day of meetings and we've got sports at night. I guess I'm getting up early this day. And I will literally put it on my calendar at the times that need to be done because I am prioritizing that activity, but I also understand that it can't happen at the same time every single day because otherwise I'll get to a point where the pressure to do that activity at that specific time becomes greater than the benefit of doing the activity, and that's where people fall off.
That's where people fall off. And I actually want to dovetail this all the way back to the 75 hard conversation because I do see a lot of people go through the program and it's like, well, I got the morning workout routine done and I read my 10 pages. Then you ask them a simple question like, did you sweat like when you did your workout? Oh, no, no, no. Do you remember what you read when you read those 10 pages? No, no, no,
No.
no. And it just seems like, to your point, it's checking a box. Well, it's on my list, and so I got to do it. And there is a lot of intentionality in it. And I bring this up in the capacity of you, as an example, love to work out. That is something that just kind of clears your mind. It's something that's really important to you, but that's a positive habit practice that you have in place. And so when people hear that, I don't want them to think, well, I have to go work out. Maybe it's reading for you. Maybe it's meditating. Maybe it's just going for a walk, whatever that is. But there's a 31% boost in your productivity, in your creativity. It lowers your stress. You have better energy. It equates to 25% higher productivity and better job performance as well when you have something that isn't just a task you need to get done. And this is something that we see people struggle with in habitual growth as well, as like you have your priorities through the day and they just want to get through the list, right? Like I'm just going
Yeah.
to cross them off as quick as I can. And the idea is you don't want to get through it as fast as you can. If you can do that in the morning, that's wonderful. But at the end of the day, you want to have intention behind that. You want to retain what you're doing. You want to put the right energy and creativity behind those tasks. So you're doing it in an optimized way. You're creating value for yourself and for the person on the other end of that as you can. How does that sit with you as you kind of struggle internally to figure out what do I have to get done for the day versus like, what are the positive things maybe that are non-professional, non-work related that I need to get done as well?
Yeah, I mean, I do think about the long-term benefits, right? So like what are some of the things that I'm doing and why am I doing them? Obviously going back to working out or, taking my supplements or just spending time at prayer. Like I understand that those things are holistically good for me and create
Mhm.
hopefully a long, healthy life, that I can lead through examples. So there is a benefit to doing it, which then forces me to be present when I'm doing them because I want to maximize whatever I'm doing to the greatest extent to get the results that I'm looking for. I do think people fall subject to that, just get through it, even in their profession, like in the professional level. And I try to talk to my teams about, yeah, you're not going to be maybe super intentional, super present in the utmost degree on every meeting. But when you look at your day, where are the ones that need your time and attention most? And be intentional about being present in those and doing the things that you need to do during those meetings because they are the highest priority. And so encourage people, whether it's personal or professional, is to look at your day and understand why you're doing certain things, where your priorities lie, and then actually build that into your essential actions list. Today, I'm going to be present in these 3 blocks because they are the highest priority to me, and start to build that practice of discernment of where your attention is needed most and maybe where it can be a little bit more on the back burner, still getting done, but you can't mean 100% focus and intention every single minute of every single day.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. And we talk a little bit about, at least we have talked about on this podcast about setting yourself up for success. And one of the biggest factors I know that really works for me, we've talked about it before, but in this conversation, it's really important to reiterate again, is like, how do you help yourself be successful primarily for the next day? Right. And so I like to set myself up with an environment where I will actually create my essential action list before I go to bed at night. And when you do that, it actually is proven by 23% to boost your performance the next morning, because you're not waking up and being like, what do I need to get done today? It's, I already have my
I already know.
priorities. Now I can figure out, do I need a time block? Do I need to reach out to somebody earlier on in the day? Do I need to hammer my schedule? Whatever it is. But you're actually helping yourself. You're setting yourself up for success by just doing a little tweak at night, something that takes less than 5 minutes, to make sure when you wake up, you can attack the day. You can go out and conquer the day with confidence versus struggling and feeling the stress of like disorganization when you wake up, and then trying to get yourself into the right path early on in the morning. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, going all the way back, like that's the point of our conversation, right? You've created a system that helps you maximize productivity. And so, maybe for our listeners, it's spend a couple weeks, between now and the end of June, trying a couple of different systems. Maybe it's you're developing a new morning routine. Maybe you are creating your essential actions list the night before. Maybe you are creating a bedtime routine or a midday break, whatever it is. Try different scenarios and see which system maximizes your productivity to the greatest degree and which also allows you to be intentional in the priorities that you've defined for the day.
That's right. Absolutely. And with that, we'll wrap it there. I know we're at time. As always, Lisa, good to see you. Good luck with the
Good to see you.
travels. For our listeners, thank you for joining us. As always, like, subscribe, share this with somebody that you think may use the information. And of course, if you don't have the Habitual Growth app, go out and download it. It's available on both the Android and iOS. We'd love to have you be a part of the community.
Awesome. Good to see you, Nate.
All right. See ya.
All right,
Bye.
bye.